Hey everyone, Nick here at zZounds with the Minilogue XD, Korg's newest analog synthesizer, which follows in the footsteps of the Korg Minilogue, a wildly popular and easy to use analog polyphonic synthesizer, with some new features under the hood that make this synth a powerhouse at a very affordable price point. Now, just like the Minilogue XD has 37 slim keys and easy to use knob per function layout on the front panel. But the Minilogue XD adds a third oscillator for each of its 4 voices, and that is the multi-engine digital oscillator that you can find on the Korg Prologue. And that digital oscillator is actually open source, so users can create and upload their own oscillators into the multi-engine for waveforms that aren't typically found on analog synthesizers. Minilogue XD also adds a whole new filter to the Minilogue platform, which has a huge low end, even when you crank the resonance, and an additional stage of drive to drive the signal going into the analog filter. The modulation section is similarly revamped with an ADSR amp envelope, AD envelope generator, and an LFO that can go all the way into the audio rate range. One of the biggest new features on Minilogue XD is its effects section, which contains 32-bit floating point DSP-based stereo effects with 3 units, one of which is a mod effect engine, which can be chorus, phaser, flanger, or an ensemble effect similar to 80s polysynths. Next is a delay, which has everything from ping-pongs to stereo delays to tape-style delays, which can be self-oscillated. And of course, a reverb, which has beautiful plate, spring, room, hall reverbs, all the way up to non-linear reverbs. And all 3 of these effects engines can be run simultaneously and modulated by the motion sequencer. And speaking of the sequencer, Minilogue XD adds features from the Korg Monologue analog synth to Minilogue's original 4-voice polyphonic sequencer with new stepped motion sequencing, which allows you to do percussive sounds and immediate motion sequence jumps for 4 different parameters at once, which can be anything from the voice mode to the effects to any aspect of the front panel of Minilogue to control your sound and give it a performative edge. Minilogue XD contains voice modes, which combine its 4 polyphonic voices in new and interesting ways. One of these is a polyphonic mode, where if you turn up the voice mode depth, you get a unison duophony, which is 2 stacks of 2 voices each on top of each other, so you can play a bass and a lead and detune them. The next voice mode is unison, which stacks all 4 voices for a huge 12 oscillator unison, which you can then detune. There's also a chord mode, which you can change the voice mode depth to get different chords and play them on different keys. And last but not least, of course, an ARP latch mode, which allows you to use an arpeggiator and then latch that arpeggiator so you can keep arpeggiating and change some of the other parameters on the front panel of Minilogue XD while the arpeggiator plays. On the back panel of Minilogue XD, there's stereo outputs, a headphone, and 2 1/4 inches. There's also CV in, so you can take CV control voltage from your modular system or any other synth and run different parameters and modulate them from outside into the Minilogue XD. There's also MIDI and USB MIDI, so you can connect to your computer or DAW to sequence, as well as sync in and out, so you can sync with other Korg analog devices that have sequencers. Minilogue XD comes with 500 slots for programs, 200 of which are presets right out of the box, and a free editor librarian so you can drag and drop to back up programs that you've created or get new programs on the internet and bring them into your very own Minilogue XD. So that's the Korg Minilogue XD, a new generation in polyphonic analog synthesis from Korg. Check it out on zZounds.com. Thanks so much for watching.